Happy New Year! It is now 2024, which is just crazy. And this video, instead of actually doing a tutorial or paint along, I'm closing up my paints, putting this to the side, and I actually want to talk about goal setting and setting yourself up for success for this year with your art. And specifically, I get really into New Year planning, and I think it should also flow into your art practice as well with like planning and goal setting. And this is something I've been doing for a while, so I thought I'd show you guys what I do, and hopefully it'll help you as well be a little bit more intentional with this year and with your art, and hopefully get you from where you are right now to where you want to be by the end of 2024. So grab a pen, a pencil, whatever you want to use to write with, and let's dive in. So I'm just using this as just like a moleskin, the soft back ones. And so here's the first thing when you're goal setting for the new year, and maybe if you've never goal setted for your artwork before, this is something I highly suggest doing. So for me, the goal has always been, so I was an art teacher for 6.5-ish years, almost 7 years. And the goal was to transition from being an art teacher to just being a full-time artist. And that was the center of what my, goal was, or the big goal. Okay, so professional artist, and luckily that still includes teaching for me, that I get to do because I do love teaching, but I get to do it on my own terms and get to teach what I want to teach and how I want to teach. But that's a whole different other story. So that's the main goal. And so maybe yours isn't to become a professional artist. Maybe it's just to become a better artist, or to get better at something specific, like maybe getting better at composition. Like maybe it's really narrow specific in what you want to focus on this year. Even if it's just becoming a better artist, then there's branches off of that we can then kind of shape the year around. So for example, if it is to become a professional artist, I would think to myself, what are all the things I need to do to become a professional artist? And there's kind of the art side, and then there's the business side as well. And so right now I want to focus on just the art side, and we won't talk about the business side of it, because I want this to be more about how you can grow and focus with your goals in your art. So to be a professional artist, you think about what are those things that a professional artist can do and do well. One of those things is composition. So we'll put composition, color, or we'll just even say color theory, having a really good grasp on how to use color, all the different things with color theory. Another one is value. So you can see these are kind of like the building blocks of being a really, really good artist. And again, it goes for if you're just wanting to get to that next level, if you're wanting to get to the professional level, these are the building blocks to do that. Another one would be drawing. Even if your main focus is painting, being able to draw is still super foundational and super important. Drawing / we'll even put in there kind of sketching. Then we're gonna put understanding and kind of just practicing and getting better at form and like your objects. Understanding form, so like understanding how to make an object look three-dimensional. And then another one is perspective. That's another big one. And then you even have like just, you know, techniques with your chosen medium. So I feel like this is a really good foundation of all the different things that go into being a better artist or becoming a professional artist. And then the other thing I think that's really important is asking good questions, and then kind of accumulating knowledge. And then that can be from, accumulating knowledge can come from lots of different things. It can just be from studying like nature if you're a landscape artist, or if you're doing still lifes, setting up still lifes and practicing. It can come from taking courses, or, you know, even memberships where you are part of a community. It can come from, let's see, studying even books as well. There's so many great art books out there, so I'll just put art books. Courses, memberships, and also even courses, memberships I'll throw in there, like going to something that's live as well, like a live seminar, or going to like an art retreat. So we'll do art like retreats where it's like more intensive for a few days as well. So this is like a huge part too of getting better as an artist, is kind of asking good questions to be able to get better. So what I mean by that is, for example, if I'm studying value, being able to ask good questions about value. So if I'm analyzing my own painting, I need to be able to look at it in relation to value and say, how are my light and my midtones and my darks in my painting? Is there too much of contrast between those? Do I need to go, you know, less contrast in there? Does my value in the foreground, how does it relate to my values in the background? How does that relate? So you're constantly trying to ask questions about your art and about these different topics within your art as well to get better. So hopefully kind of like just even mapping this out, you're like, oh, okay, there is a lot that goes into being a professional or getting better at anything, whether it's painting or whether it's becoming a better basketball player or a better musician and you're playing the piano. You have all the different things that go into playing a song. You've got the scales, you've got just doing the chords by themselves, you have the timing, being able to read the music, like everything, anything in life that you want to get better at, there's this list that goes into getting better at it, this list of skills that you have to do to get better. And so I found the more intentional I can be with understanding the list of skills, then throughout the year, I can be more intentional with my time when I have time to sit down and practice and get better. Because practice can be more beneficial and you can get better quicker on like an exponential curve if you're more intentional with your goals and sitting down, and instead of just saying, I'm gonna paint whatever today, sitting down and saying, I'm gonna practice color theory today specifically. So when I'm painting this object, I'm gonna focus on understanding today more about XYZ and color theory and really focus on that today. Or maybe it's drawing and sketching and you're gonna spend some time today just focusing on that. So that is part of, once you map this out, now we can kind of break it down throughout the year with setting aside time to specifically spend on these individual kind of foundational things that will make you better as an artist. All right, so once you've got this down on the paper, I think it's really fun to map out the year with your months kind of. So we got January. I'm gonna do this really quick. We'll speed this up. All right, so part of this now is taking all of this and putting it into the year. And so if we kind of count over here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not counting this because this is just part of kind of all of this. So we've got 7 different categories that we can put into our months. And so for you, it's gonna be different depending on what you feel more confident in versus what you don't feel confident in. So I would even maybe take like a pencil and give yourself like a scale of 1 to 5, where you feel better about and then where you feel least confident in. So for example, for me, I still really struggle with perspective and like specifically architecture and doing buildings and stuff like that. And that's something I really want to get better at. So for me, if I put it on the 1 to 5 scale, and we'll just say 1 to 5, 5 being I feel super confident, and 1 being not so good. So we'll say not so good. We'll say yet, not so good yet. That's what we're working on. So perspective for me is like down there at the bottom. It's like a 2. Value, I feel like, is something I'm always trying to get better at and trying to do better. So I would say I'm at like a 3. Color theory, I love, and I think I spend more time there. And so I would say that's like a 4 for me. Form and objects, I feel like I have like a way that I do things always to make sure it looks 3-dimensional, but I feel like I could spend more time there. I kind of get lazy where I just like figure it out and then kind of keep that same system always. So I'm gonna put like a 3 there. Drawing and sketching, that was actually my foundation. So I grew up drawing all the time. So I always feel pretty good. So I'll put myself like a 4 there, except for, again, when it comes to like building and architecture, I don't feel as good about, or like people, I don't draw people. I don't do like anatomy. It's just not something that interests me, but that's fine. I like drawing more landscape and more still life stuff. But in the areas that I feel good about with drawing, I'm good. And then techniques, I feel like with me, I really heavily lean towards, like with my watercolor, I stick to using wet on dry more than wet on wet. And I feel like I need to push myself to use wet and wet more and to loosen up even more. So that, I think I'm gonna put even just like a 3 for that I could spend some more time playing with the techniques of watercolor. And then composition, I spend a lot of time with as well. I feel like I'm always learning with that, but I feel more confident in that. So I'll put that as like a 4. I didn't put a 5 on anything because I feel like we're always getting better. We're always doing really well. So that's kind of where I'm at in my scale of what I feel like I'm most confident and less confident. So then I can take that, transfer that over to my map for the months and decide where do I want to now plug these into and how much time do I want to spend in these. So the ones where I'm more confident in, I'm only gonna maybe allow myself like a month then to focus on those. And then the ones I'm less confident in, I'm gonna give myself more time. But I'm gonna spread it out so that it's not just like 3 months straight of perspective, because that I will just get frustrated with and be like, I'm done, okay? So I'm still gonna start out with perspective because it's the one I'm lacking the most in. And so I wanna start off with perspective, and then I'm gonna sprinkle it in throughout the rest of the year, making sure I'm practicing it, probably just at least spend 3 months throughout the year working on that. So I might just do, I'm trying to see if I want it, how soon I wanna jump back into it. I feel like I don't wanna go, I want to jump back again into it in April. And then I'll kind of give myself a few months break again and then jump back into it towards the end of the year. Okay, so I want to at least spend 3 months of this year working on perspective. Now, I'll take it one step further after we kind of fill this in. So then for the rest of these, I might not spend as much time except for like the ones that I still have like a 3 on. So for example, I'm going to put value at least twice in here as well to spend 2 months on. Same with techniques. I'm gonna at least do, and then I might do techniques again, maybe in February. You can kind of map yours out however you want. Composition. And then I'm gonna do color theory. Actually, no, I'm gonna do form and objects right here. Form, and then I'm gonna do color theory right here. And then I gotta do form one more time. And then I'll put drawing and sketching in here at the end. Because I would say that is where I feel like the absolute most confident is like the drawing and sketching probably. So I'm not as concerned with that one as I am the other ones. So once I put that in, then you can kind of then figure out now what's the different things that go into those to then figure out during those months how you're gonna focus and study on those things specifically. So maybe it might be, for example, because I have perspective on here 3 times, maybe the first month that I'm working on it, I grab a book on perspective. And then in that book, it probably is gonna go through specific things on perspective that I need to start working on. And well, for example, you got like 1-point perspective, and then you've got 2-point perspective, you got 3-point perspective, so on and so forth. So maybe for January, I'll focus more on 2 and 3-point. 1-point I have down, 2-point I have down as well, but like I wanna do more practice with it. And then 3-point I'm not as good with. So maybe that's what January is gonna look like for perspective. But then April for perspective, because I'm going back to it, it might be just a review real quick of that stuff. And then it might be buying a course online of someone that it teaches more on perspective. Specifically, probably I'd find like a watercolor artist that does architecture with buildings and learn from that. So that's kind of where I do with that. And then when I come back to it at the final time at the, you know, towards the end of the year again in October, again, I would kind of go back into a review then of these 2 months and then see how can I push myself to get even a little bit better with it. And so maybe that might be going then, and if I've already done the course, already been looking at books, maybe it's finding some images that I know are gonna push me and make me get a lot better with it. So finding harder reference images. Maybe it's a good time to splurge and say, hey, I'm gonna go on a trip specifically somewhere really cool with some awesome architecture, maybe somewhere like Paris, and say, I'm gonna take some really sweet photos so I can come back and paint those and push myself. So sometimes too, it's fun to have a goal. Like throughout the year, maybe there's a specific reason why you're wanting to get better at one of these things. And so for me, there is a trip planned right now for October for Paris. And that's really why I do want to get better at perspective, because I want to be able to go there and be able to paint the buildings and feel confident in that. And right now, that is where I feel the least confident. So kind of like somewhat a reward there in that month as well for me. But that's kind of a fun thing to do. Then, you know, again, if you go, I would just keep taking each thing and breaking it down so then you know what you're working on for the month. So techniques, like I said, for me, it's more of I need to work more wet and wet and be looser. So loose with my, and then also maybe like throwing in a lot of people kind of scratch into their watercolor. I've seen that a lot. Use like a palette knife or their nail or the brush, end of the brush, the back end. Maybe trying stuff like that, like playing around with getting like texture. I feel like I don't play around with texture that much, and it's something I should start kind of playing with. So I would take each one of these and break it down for yourself and what you want to achieve and how you want to get better in those. And if you're kind of like, well, I don't know like what I need to do with value, like I don't know how to get better, That's where you go and you say, okay, if I don't know how to get better in value or what the different elements are in there that will make me better at, you know, understanding value, that's where you go to your art courses or to your art books. Just try your library, that's free, right? That's your first one, free options. YouTube, free options. If you want to spend money and you want to take that step, then courses are a great way. Memberships, doing an art retreat, that would obviously be very intensive as well. You've got money, you've got options that will cost money, you've got options that are free. So just decide what your budget is for being able to accumulate even the knowledge to figure out what you need to get better at. And then just even studying from real life as you're painting, taking reference photos, painting in the moment of that setup in front of you, not just taking the photo of it, but just setting up a still life in front of you and painting from it is a completely different experience than painting from a photograph. Same with outside, doing plein air painting versus painting from a photograph, all that kind of good stuff. So take each one, figure out each month how you're gonna focus on it, how you're gonna practice it. And then the final thing that I do sometimes as well is I create either a folder on my computer or Pinterest board of reference images so that when I sit down to practice or do any of these things, I already have this library built up of imagery to pull from so that I know I'm not wasting time doing that, because that can be a huge time suck. And so if you can have those images, and again, if you pull images from Pinterest, this is just solely for your practicing in the sketchbook. And so you don't have to worry about copyright or anything like that. Find imagery you like and that you can just focus on in your sketchbook to draw, paint from, learn from, and get better with. That is what I would do if I'm trying to get better, which I actually do this, but hopefully it helps you to see what to do to get better. If you're feeling a little bit lost in your art journey and you're not really quite sure how to get better, sitting down, mapping this out will help you be clear with your goals and intentions and help you have a wonderful year of art and learning for 2024. So I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments if you like videos like this, seeing more of like kind of a behind the scenes and not just doing painting tutorials, because I love also showing you what I do kind of to get better at art and all that kind of good stuff. So thanks for being here. I appreciate your support. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all of those amazing things. Thank you guys, and I will see you next time.